All right, we're here with Araceli Martinez Rose, who is a journalist and who has just put out a book, El Negocio de Dolor, or The Business of Pain. Araceli, first of all, welcome to the IBF convention. We've met once before in Cancun at the big Night of Champions event that happened this past July, August. And tell me, first of all, how the book is going, and then we'll go back a little bit and talk about how you got started with it.
Yeah, well, exactly. WBC convention was my first event when I get to know everybody in boxing. Most of you now have become familiar faces for me. Being outside the boxing scene was a challenge to get to know everybody and try to tie all the last roles to put my book together. So I start getting to know the people, contact the champions, and finally come here at the IBF 28 convention and present my book. It's still in a Spanish release after 3 weeks ago, and working to put the word out because the book coming in English at the end of July, beginning of August.
Okay, great. So now going back, talk about how the concept of writing this book came about and the inspiration that brought you to writing this book.
Come with my own personal searching for make my dream come true. At a very early age, my father gave me a biography, who I could not read at the moment, but challenged me to learn to read at one point to understand and read the book. I was 7 years ago, and I couldn't read it. So I learned to read to see what was that book about. And that was a diary, a biography of a kid back in Italy. And I fell in love with biographies from that moment. And I had the dream, even though I didn't have it identified that way, that I would write one day biographies. But that was what inspired my career in journalism and later my searching for a word story to tell the world. So then what I did, a biography searching. And I found in my way Gabriel Ruelas, who I believe have amazing inspirational story. And getting to know his story and his journey to the championship, and then the struggle that came after death in the ring, and then searching for fulfillment life after boxing life. It became an open door for me to explore the life of the fighter. And I tried to put together 15 world champions so the reader can explore different backgrounds in those lives and probably find their own inspiration to try to do their own dreams, little, bigger ones, huge ones in life. And so that was my journey on boxing. I've come out, my background is outside the boxing world, and I always want to explain that because you guys have been very welcoming into the boxing world, but I don't want to teach boxing, and I'm not talking about boxing, and it's nothing new about boxing that you guys don't know, the boxing fans or the boxing writers. It's about life, inspiration, motivation, stories about self-growing, discipline, passionate in life, and learning lessons that can change our destiny. If we go and take the wrong turn, how difficult it is to get it back, and if we decide to go to the top of our life, how difficult it is if we don't prepare ourselves to keep ourselves in the top rank, and how difficult can be even failing after that worse than never accomplish our dream. So that is what the book is about, and that is what I had to self-teach and actually learn about boxing at one point, but that was what motivated my book.
So obviously everybody in life faces a journey. In this case, boxing was the vehicle for these particular people, Gabrielas, to make that journey.
Yes.
But he still has a journey now that his boxing career is over.
And most of the fighters have a journey. Evander Holyfield was telling me, I accomplish everything. I make a fortune. I don't have as much, and I go back to boxing, and I leave boxing in another way. It starts at one point career in one aspect, and then I live in boxing in another way today. Shane Mosley, athlete forever. He wants to keep going his career until he decides when. And so he told me why he wanted to fight with Pacquiao perhaps 3 weeks ago or some weeks ago. And so he told me in the book back then in Big Bear camping, training camping, he explained me why he want to keep going fighting. And who want to fight with or against with. And Eric Morales, who have his own religion on boxing, and legends like Carlos Zarate, who destroyed his life, and he was close to die, lost in drugs and alcohol, and then he regained his life. And Asuma Nelson, far away in Ghana, in Africa, who told me everything about his incredible life career in boxing. So all these people got together and told me their own journey, and somehow, round by round, because I don't have chapters in my book, I have round by round, they all tell me their stories and connect one to the other one, because one fact sometimes could be death on the ring, could be a financial situation, could be the need of the applause and the cheering that is missing from the arena. You know, can be many factors, and they all tell me what they're missing, what they're love about, and where are in their life right now.
Now, a lot of fighters seem to have that kind of commonality where they stay in the ring sometimes too long, whether it's for the reasons you mentioned, the adulation of the crowd, the money, or they can't figure out what else it is that they want to do with their life. Do you find that there's something very unique about the fighter, that even though everybody else in life has their own journeys, there's some kind of a unique common bond with the fighters that separates them from the rest of society?
And not only separate from the rest of society, but I think they validate themselves to a sport, and they exist because they sport, and they become something that is like almost disappear if they didn't have the sport in one way or other, connecting as a promoters, connecting as a company, as a broadcaster, connected as a writers. They become something. Maybe they transform, they reinvent themselves. Some they don't. They are not able to reinvent themselves. But what is important here, and that is a lesson for the society outside who doesn't know boxing, first of all, and probably the ones who are the followers, understanding that these people are raw, honest. And that is amazing, because most of the society want to lie about why to do or not to do something. And fighters in boxing and everybody in boxing really open up, straight open, true about their true feelings, their true mistakes, the true negligence, and the successful parts that they have in their life. And they're no problem to talk about it. And that's what, for me, is incredible value lesson as well. Talk about themselves with no hesitation.
And what did you find in delving into the boxing world with this, that it seems so many other writers, filmmakers find that causes them to end up using boxing as a backdrop for movies? When you look at some of the most popular books, the most popular movies, there's something about the sport of boxing that draws them to create their book, create their movie, and it draws so many fans, whether it's the hardcore boxing fan or just the casual fan, or, as you yourself said, someone who wasn't even a fan to begin with, and then they find themselves very interested in it.
From Rome. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm finding in myself that is passion involved, that is truly success of somebody who did not had denied the opportunities or born with denied opportunities, and really conquer their and fight for their life to do something. And I think it's very amazing effort example what a fighter normally will do. But not only the fighter, also the trainers have their own story, the referees have their own story, the ring announcer have their story. And if you really pay attention, everybody in boxing have a very similar story of, become something and become the best in what they do. And that is what makes it different at the end, the one who stand up. That's when you really see that they really treat their life as one opportunity to do the best they could and dream high. And I think that is what reflects the movies, the books, the magazines that we can read about. Doesn't matter if it's a local hero, it's an amateur, it's a Golden Globe winner, or if he is really a champion for any other organization. Really is fascinating to see they're challenging themselves. They are able to discipline themselves so much, sometimes years and years without one day not going to a gym, day after day after day. It's amazing to see that they did it only for one day for the champion fight, and that is amazing to see. And I think it's totally worth it. It's why we drive us to the movies and drive us to read all of you bloggers and sites to see what else they wanted to do and feel sorry if they made a mistake and cheer them when they do right. And I think it's true connection. Now, on the other hand, this sport brings more champions to the world than any other. More than Formula, more than tennis, more well maybe football, American football, and soccer. But 50 years of boxing and 50 champions in Mexico is amazing. Perhaps I don't have the statistics for all the countries, but look at Philippines. That lead boxing because Pacquiao, and it's amazing that Russia and now Serbia, and now different countries are just putting together their focus in one sport, and they have heroes to look at and get inspiration by them. So I think it's amazing and bravo for people who really want to put anything on the sport to inspire somebody else. Doesn't matter what media can be about.
Now, next week we're going to be having the International Boxing Hall of Fame where some big legends like Mike Tyson and Julio Cesar Chavez and Kostya Tszyu are getting inducted. And when I think back to Customato, Mike Tyson's original trainer and mentor who had adopted him, there was a big concept that he always talked to Mike Tyson about that I always associated myself with the sport of boxing, and that was about conquering fear and making fear work for you and knowing how to turn it against your opponent. And it seems to me that in a sport like boxing that is not a team sport, you don't have anyone else to rely on but yourself in the ring against your opponent. It always seems like that is one of the biggest issues to conquer is fear, because there's no one else but yourself. Did you encounter any discussions with that with any of the fighters about not only just making something of yourself, but having to get past that wall of fear to
Yes.
they don't have anyone else to rely on?
Yeah, I definitely explore that part because, for example, Jimmy Garcia death. So why a death happened in the ring? Who to blame? Who to charge the responsibility of a life? And then you start to discuss up to what point the fighter alone has the responsibility on the ring, until what point the referee, until what point the corner, until what point the training that they did, and goes open up, and it's a big circle that it has a lot of people involved. So yes, I have truly respect after discussing and exploring with the fighters their bravery to go on the ring. Doesn't matter what label. I mean, punches hurt, and sometimes more than hurt. Sometimes you don't see them and damage, and of course it's great regulations and a lot of inputs that make the sport safer every time. But it's still, it's about punches, and it's amazing that they are brave enough and they are intelligent enough to bring their technique and the training to the ability to put it together in the very moment according to what they have with the opponent. So you can study whatever, you can study the opponent, but once you are in the ring with that person and you have to see what are doing, maybe sometimes a little different than what they study or expecting, and they have to respond to that, And it's when it's amazing to see if he's who is able to overcome the difference or the surprise on the ring. And for me, it's fascinating that they are brave enough, they are strong enough, and certainly if we don't have fear in life, then what is the challenge? What we need to overcome? Then everything would be easier. So we had to fear in life to become better, to become stronger, and this is a great example, a fighter.
I believe that. Now, Araceli, you mentioned again that the English version should be coming out sometime soon this summer?
Yes, and I apologize that we've been advertising that it was actually coming by the IBF and in Canastota, but I wrote the book in Spanish, my original language, my native language, and English has lost still some essence on the translation. I want to be sure that it's completely accurate on the translation of the people who were part of the book. It's not that easy just to translate the words, but I want to exactly put out there in the book the way that Roberto Mano de Piedra talked to me. exactly the way he does in Spanish. And everybody say, yeah, that's the way of talking for Mano de Piedra. You know, the same way that a Goosen, Joe Goosen, have very unique character style. And everybody say, I know that's the way he talk. I want to have the same in English. And since it's in our hands for the same publisher, I wanted to respect that, and I want to be sure that it's accurate, precise, and exactly the way, or as close as I wrote it in Spanish. And that's why we're delaying a little bit. We have a little bit of complication, and we're sure that this extra 4 weeks will get us there. So fans, look for that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Again, the book is El Negocio del Dolor, or The Business of Pain. Araceli, thank you very much. Boxing fans and even non-boxing fans, I think you're going to look forward to it and be on the lookout for it this summer.
Absolutely, and see you then at the Hall of Fame then.
All right, again, thank you very much, Araceli. Enjoy the rest of the convention and your talk.
Thank you, I will. Thanks.